All right, veterans, let's talk about one of the biggest questions I hear almost every single week. Should I buy a home now or should I wait? Let's be real for a second. In the military, everybody's got that one buddy at work who suddenly becomes a real estate economist because they watched a 30-second TikTok. There's always some headline, some rumor, or some dude in the break room saying, just wait, the market's gonna get better. Look, I love my military family, but we both know we're notorious for confidently explaining things we only halfway understand. I can say that because, well, I'm one of us. The problem is that a lot of that advice sounds good in the moment, but ends up costing veterans thousands when the math finally hits the table. So before you pick a side, let me walk you through what's actually going on underneath all the noise, and then we'll look at some real KC numbers so you can make the decision that actually serves you. For those who don't know, I'm Joe Nelson, 21-year retired Air Force veteran and your Kansas City VA real estate guy. My job is simple: help veterans buy smart, whether you're using a VA loan, a conventional loan, or just trying to figure out which one actually saves you the most money in the long run. I don't believe in pressure, I believe in clarity. So let's break this down the way I wish someone would have explained it to me when I was buying my first home. Here's where most veterans get stuck. They don't actually want to wait. They're just afraid of choosing the wrong moment. And honestly, that fear is valid because the market doesn't move based on headlines. It moves based on patterns. Sometimes buyers are active and sometimes they disappear. Sometimes interest rates jump up, sometimes they slide. But one thing that never changes, whenever interest rates come down, buyer demand shoots up. And when demand shoots up, home prices almost always follow. That's the cycle the headlines never explain. And it's why waiting for better conditions can really backfire. Now, let's look at a real Kansas City example so this actually makes sense. Imagine you're shopping around a price point of $350,000. That's a super common range for veterans here in Kansas City. If you were to buy that home right now using a VA loan with zero down, your payment might land somewhere in the ballpark of $2,300 for principal and interest only. And here's what people forget. Right now, sellers are negotiable. This is when you can pick up things like seller credits, rate buy downs, closing cost help, or repairs, all of which put real money back in your pocket and make your payment more manageable. Now let's compare that to waiting. A lot of veterans tell me, Joe, I'm just waiting for rates to drop. Okay, let's imagine they do drop. Sounds great, right? But the second rates fall, every buyer who sat out suddenly jumps back in. Competition increases, inventory tightens, and that same 350 house might be 370, 380, or even more by the time you get back in the game. So even with a lower rate, your payment ends up almost identical to what it would have been today, except now you're paying more for the same house and you've lost almost all your negotiating power. In other words, many veterans aren't waiting for a better opportunity, they're waiting for a more expensive one. Now, let me share something veterans often forget. You don't play by the same rules as the average buyer. With a VA loan, you get no down payment, no PMI, flexible credit, and some of the best rates available. On top of that, there are multiple times throughout the year, not tied to seasons or holidays, just natural slowdowns, when buyer activity dips and sellers get more flexible. These are incredible windows for vets to buy with leverage. Sellers relax, builders start throwing incentives around, negotiations become way easier. Veterans love a deal, I get it, and slow markets are where the deals live. But to be fully transparent, your loan option matters too. And this may surprise you coming from a VA loan guy. Sometimes conventional actually wins. If you got strong credit or some cash to put down, sometimes the conventional payment is identical or even better. Other times, obviously, VA blows conventional out of the water because it's the lack of PMI. And honestly, it really just comes down to your priorities. Are you trying to keep your loan amount as low as possible? Are you trying to secure the lowest monthly payment? Are you thinking short-term flexibility or long-term cost? We look at all that side by side so the math and your personal goals make the best decision for you. Now let's talk about BAH for a second. This is a huge part of the equation. When you're renting, your BAH is gone at the end of the month. It doesn't roll over and it definitely doesn't build anything. When you buy, that same money starts building equity immediately. Even if the rate today isn't your dream rate, you can always refinance later. What you can't do is go back in time, re-rent, and reclaim all that BAH that you spent. Once it's gone, it's gone. And here's something even more important for veterans who may get moved around. If the military ends up PCS'ing you somewhere else, you don't lose out. You can keep the property here and turn it into a rental. Kansas City is a fantastic long-term rental market, especially for the price points veterans are buying in. That's how you start building long-term wealth without even trying. And on that note, I want to mention a special promise we make to every veteran who we help here. If you buy a home with us in the Kansas City market and you get PCS within the first couple of years, we'll waive our listing agent commission and relist the home for you at no listing fee. That's our way of saying you shouldn't be penalized for doing your job and going where the military sends you. We've got your back, period. Now, let me be straight with you. There are times when waiting is the right move. If your job situation isn't stable, if you're working on your credit, if you're building savings, or if you're not even sure you'll stay in Kansas City long enough, then waiting is smart. Waiting for your situation is almost always the right call, but waiting for the market is a completely different story. The market never gives perfect conditions all at once, and trying to time it usually does more harm than good. So here's the bottom line. Buy when it makes financial sense for you personally, not when the headlines say you should. And the best way to figure that out is simply look at your actual numbers. If you're a veteran thinking about buying here in Kansas City, whether that's right now, a few months from now, or even sometime down the road, shoot me a text or give me a call. We'll compare VA and conventional, run real KC numbers, look at payment scenarios, and figure out whether buying now or waiting saves you the most money. My number's in the description, and I always pick up for veterans. Thanks for being here. Stay safe, be smart, and I'll see you next time.